participate in this lovely sport. We here now.
If you on that hit squad, then hit hard. Bogart and take charge. If you got accuracy to be the QB, then let me see you throw it deep.
Gather around, school brothers and sisters. This is Under the Lights, brought to you by Justin and Dave, Purple and Gold for Days, Minnesota Sports Talk, where we both agree that Jaren Hall is the future, and there's no need to draft a quarterback. What's up, Justin?
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And those was a quote from Justin.
Yeah, of course it was. How's everybody doing tonight? Good to see everybody. Well, at the end of it, we got one half of our quarterback of the future. Oh, wait, maybe not. Who knows? I mean, the only thing I was going to say is Kevin O'Connell gave a huge leash to Josh Dobbs and a huge leash to Nick Mullins. He gave one half to Jaren Hall. Now, I get it. He's a rookie, and he wanted to get him out of the game before he, had his confidence destroyed. Okay, I can sort of see that, but at the same time, it's like, you gave him a half. I know he didn't look good, but we're still trying to save our season. No, you weren't. The season's been over since. Here's the thing, and I'll let you go after that, and then we'll do shouts. The Viking season ended against Green Bay twice. In Green Bay when we lost Kirk Cousins, and this past weekend when we lost in our own building in what probably was the second most embarrassing loss in US Bank Stadium, only to the Dallas game last year. But hey, we were playing with house money this whole year, so we got to keep it in context that once Kirk went down, we were 4-4, and what were we going to really do? I don't know.
Well, disagree a little bit. Yeah, I'd love to see Jaren Hall get more of a leash, but he was that bad, and we were still within reach because what we were down. Well, I guess it did go down and score again. Was it 17-3 or was it 24-3?
I think it was 24-3.
24-3. Sure, it's 3 touchdowns. And you got a guy that just got done throwing 411 yards the week before on the bench. So you probably feel more of a chance with him. But, yeah, I mean, there was an opportunity to save our season. I didn't expect our defense to go to actual hot garbage the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I think if there's games where it's like, God, why are we giving them 30 points a game now? What the hell? We were the top 7 in scoring, and now we're probably in the mid-teens. We were 11 before the game started, so it's like, God, where did the defense go? And
you got figured out. It was smoke and mirrors, and we knew that. We knew that the talent, this defense is void of talent in a lot of areas. And then when you lose DJ Wanham, and the only real pass rusher you have is Daniil Hunter, and your secondary's been playing. Well, tackling
an individual effort thing, and it's been horrible the last 3 weeks.
Yes, it has.
It's like there were opportunities to stop team, the past few weeks of stopping people, but giving them, first and, second and 2 rather than second and 8. It's like we could have got that guy or made it harder for him, but no, we made it always seem to make it too easy.
Yeah.
And maybe it is our tackling ability. And I there's players out there that I know that were pretty good tacklers in college, like Andrew Booth Jr., that I'm like, sit Evans down and play Booth Jr. the whole game.
Right.
Because Evans hasn't been hasn't been tackling well. Just send a message. What I look for in this next game is play everybody. Lewis Cine finally got more than one snap at 8. Play everybody. Let's see what we have.
Lewis is finally seen. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah. We finally seen Lewis.
Yes. Let's get some shouts. Let's get some shouts right out the back. Grandpa Dave, Vikings First and Skull. Hit them up on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast aggregator. Thank you, Dave, for coming on by. We've got one of the matriarchs, one of the queens, Mary's in the building. What's going on? We got Sodak Kid. What's going on? What's going on, Pops? Good to see you. Thank you so kindly. Happy New Year, everybody. Again, wish the Vikings could have done a little bit better than that. Got a house call from the doctor. What's going on, Dr. Proto? Afternoon and evening to you as well. Hello, Cody. Good to see you. Skull. We can't even afford the L in Skull. It's just Skull. I don't know if you meant to do that or not, but I'm running with it anyway. What's going on, McAndrews? One of the OGs. Thank you so kindly, as always, for joining us here this evening. I agree, Mary. Absolutely painful. Painful. Shout out Frozen North. It was very, very bad. You are correct. Raymond is in the building. What's going on, Raymond? Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you kindly. We might just get into this, Fart Brain. In fact, shout out everybody. Shout out Fart Brain. First off, it's a great, great handle, but it's not going to happen. It's not the Wilfs way. It's not Kevin O'Connell's way, and the players aren't going to be happy to do that either. I'm not saying
we're also not eliminated yet, which is
it doesn't matter. We are okay. We'll talk a little bit more. Let me finish the shouts. We'll get into that here. What's going on, Ryan? After what we witnessed, honestly, if the Lions stomp out what little hope we have for the playoff, that is sadly deserved. Yeah, you could definitely make that argument. I agree, Mary. We didn't show up at all. A lot of people made some business decisions. It looked like. Where did the defense go? The defense packed their bags and went to a healthy start. You know. I can't disagree with you, Frozen. I really can't. Darian, what's going on? Shout out to you as well. It's more for the season. Let's get it. Well, yeah, there's that. Well, don't say that. You know, you'll be labeled a bad fan if you even think that way. What's going on, Kofi? Good to see you. Ain't seen you in a minute. Good to see you. Kirk haters are praying for Penix Jr. I don't know. I'd take I want Drake May, but that's probably not going to happen. Speaking of that guy, there's our guy, Rap Purple Pocket Podcast. Everybody hit him up. What's going on? And we got fans, Vince McMahon, expecting Hall to win is laughable. Why put him in there just to pull him back out? What is he doing? I would have left him in there for the whole game, but I can kind of see not completely destroying him. And what I did like about Jaren Hall after the game, he's like, yeah, I played like garbage. I would have pulled me too. Again, that's kind of what I'm talking about. He's exuding leadership by taking accountability for how bad he was. But okay, so what do you want to?
Mullins did the same thing the week before. He totally owned it. You know, I turned the ball over. You know, that can't do that. So I feel like we have a good quarterback room that you know, feels that, you know, can put the team first, and I think all three guys do. So it's
all three guys
are a good group.
They just haven't played very well. Let's just say that. And by the way, if you haven't already done so, hit the reset button. Hit those like buttons, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it pumped up around here as best we can. Whether you're on Minnesota Sports Talk or Purple and Gopher Days, hit those like buttons. And after the show, go to the other one and hit the like button there. And if you don't subscribe to both channels, again, Minnesota Sports Talk and Purple and Gopher Days, season's almost over. Regular season finale. Let's get those numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that sub button because we're going to have all kinds of good content in the off season. And I'll make the announcement that Rap made on Friday. Skullfest 2.0. We will have a mega show on all the channels: Minnesota Sports Talk, Purple and Gopher Days, Purple Pocket Podcast, GG Sports, etc. Purple and Skull Media, possibly Yogi. We'll have another super show like we did for the draft party last year when we get the schedule released, because that's when we will be announcing the location and date of Skullfest 2.0. Okay, I think I've got all of that out there. Any more shouts that I need to? Oh, yes, we got one more at least. Adrian Viking R. What's going on? Everybody shout out Adrian. I ain't seen Adrian. Thanks for dropping by. I do appreciate you. As a Kirk fan, I hope we get Jaden Daniels or JJ McCarthy. I would take either one of those two. And again, I'd also take Drake May, as unlikely as that is. We got James in the building. What's going on, James? Thanks kindly for joining us. We got George. Things always moving when I'm trying to hit the button. Skull, my fellow berserkers. Skull to you too, George. Thank you so kindly for joining. Man, let's see. I know Williams and May are out of reach. I'd go to, yeah, I agree. They're probably out of reach. But the highest pick the Vikings could get is the 9th pick. And it's a lot easier to trade up from the 9th pick than it is from, say, the 22nd pick. Anyway, you want to address what the Vikings should or shouldn't do, or what fans should or shouldn't hope for, or are we going to
Well, I mean, don't ever expect a coach to try to lose a game. Especially, like I was about to say, we're not eliminated. Obviously, it takes 4 other teams to lose for us to make the playoffs, but don't expect a coach to tank at any point for a higher draft pick. You just, their jobs are on the line. So don't expect that. You can hope all you want.
Right.
But I think there's a definite difference between rooting for us to lose and just accepting the results of the game, and that would be potential higher draft pick because all those teams ahead of us could win. You know what I'm saying?
If the Vikings don't make the playoffs and they win, if they win the game but don't make the playoffs, they'd be slated to take the.
Or they could. Pick. I mean, they could lose too. I'm just saying, the other way around. They could all lose too, keeping us at what 12 right
15.
now.
15.
We're at 15.
The Vikings, if they win, they would be no higher than 15th.
Oh, but if we lose, we could still stay at 13 or 12. We're 12 right now, right?
Yes.
We're 12 right now. If we lose, we could stay at 12 or get as high as 9, right? And we'd have to rely on 9, 10, 11, 3 other teams to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're about.
I will say this though, I had
no worse than 15, no better than 9.
Right? Well, here's what I will say. One of those games that we need is for the Bears to beat the Packers. And that's the case whether you're hoping for a higher draft pick or hoping for the playoffs. Not that we wouldn't have been pulling for the Bears to beat the Packers and eliminate them anyway. But
yeah, I mean, I'll be rooting for the Bears too. But what would suck is that we went from, aspirations of 12-5 to 4th in the division, which kind of sucks. But at this point, it's like, 3rd, 4th, what does it matter? Again, I'm a guy that I'm not rooting for us to lose by any means at any point at any play of the season, but I accept the results, and obviously that would benefit us for the draft. But right now it's like I want to see. This is the way I always look at any type of loss. If we're losing the game, that means certain players aren't playing good, right? And I'm like, that might cost this guy a spot on the team. It might mean we have to look a different direction. I hope all these players, I hope Lewis Seen balls out. I hope Booth balls out. I hope all these guys we have questions about, Andre Carter II. I hope all these dudes ball out and we have answers in house. That means we have less draft picks to go after, less free agents to go after. That's my hope when I see players out on the field. That's my hope. And I feel like if we're hoping us to lose, we are hoping for someone to fail to make it happen. And I just can't. I'll never look at it that way. But that. And I know what people want. And, the best possible scenario for us if we don't make the playoffs would be as high a draft pick as possible. And it's looking that way, right? We're playing the Lions at full strength.
Who have something to play
on the road. So, yeah, it looks that way, right? So, hey, I just look for these guys to play good. Hope for the best for everybody.
I hope Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison each get 130 some yards, whatever they need to get over 1,000, because that would be nice. Despite the fact that Jefferson missed half the season, it would be nice to see him get that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, well, and mind you, there's 17 games now too, by the way.
And like 2 of the games he caught for less than 30 yards.
Yeah. But if the Vikings happen to lose on a last-second touchdown or last-second field goal, I'm not going to be upset. But I was upset by the loss against the Packers because I'm always upset with a loss against the Packers. But, one way or the other, after this game is over, about 5 minutes later, whatever the result is, whether we win big, lose big, win close, lose close, 5 minutes later, I'll be over it. Because even if they get into the playoffs, they ain't doing it.
I pretty much guarantee you after the Packers game, I wasn't going, God, I'm glad we lost and have a higher draft pick.
No, but I ain't talking about the Packers now. Now I'm talking about the Lions, and I'm talking about the last game of the season. And that's what's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a difference between. I know you root for the team when they're playing. I know you do.
Yeah, so Jefferson needs 100
between rooting for us to lose and just accepting the results. So that's always the way I look at it.
Well, just to be clear, Justin Jefferson needs 118 yards, and Jordan Addison needs 146. Respectively to get to 1,000.
I expect Justin Jefferson more than I expect.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And I made the point weeks ago that I thought that Mullins gave more opportunity for Justin Jefferson because my point was that he plays like Kirk Cousins did during last year's Buffalo game, but all the time, and he did that exactly. Yeah, loves getting the gold jacket.
Yeah, ain't that funny.
He played like it. Well, those guys were pretty wide ass open. They talking about how he's
Our
throwing out the
defense
back.
was so bad. It was so bad.
That was us that was us against the Giants last year, man.
Let me get some.
Flores did a Scooby Doo reveal and showed us he was Donatel last night or Sunday night. It was definitely Scooby-Doo reveal.
I haven't thought of that one in a minute. That's good, Dave. I'll give you that. All right, shout out Skull Mafia. What's up, Skull brother? Good to see you. I like this comment from Kofi. Hear me out. If we re-sign Kirk, why don't we? I'm going to save that one for later. We'll get back to that one, but I wanted to acknowledge that I got that one saved up for you later there, Kofi. Shout out to Grandpa Gary. What's going on, Gary? Good to see you as always. My guy T-Bass, what's going on? After seeing them last week, this team has checked out. Yeah, I can't disagree that they're looked to be in the second half. A lot of business decisions made by some of the defensive players. Either that or they just completely crap the bed or somewhere in between. Shout out Caesar. KOC needs to pick his quarterback. Who would you choose in the draft? Well, I would, if for whatever reason, however it happens, the Vikings lose and somehow, some way, enough of those things happen that we need to happen to get up to the 9th pick. If I had the 9th overall pick, I would try really hard to move up and get Drake May. That's my number one guy. I like him more than I like Caleb Evans. Now, if you stay at 9 and Jaden Daniels is there, I take him. If you're around 15 and JJ McCarthy is still there, I take him. I like either one of these guys. Any one of those three. I'd be happy and ecstatic if we got any one of those three guys. Yes, if Caleb Williams somehow is available at the number 9 pick or the number 10 or 11 or 12, wherever we're at, yeah, I take him there. But I don't trade up for Caleb Williams. I only trade up for Drake May. That's my thought from that perspective. What do you think as far as Caesar's question goes? Who would you choose in the draft at the quarterback position?
Well, you're not on Penix at all. Is it the injury history?
I like Penix too. I just like Penix would be 4th on my list. I like him too. Yes. I just have him because of his injury history, blowing out an ACL in the same leg twice, puts him a notch below.
The good news is it's not his plant leg.
That's true. That's very, very true. That's very, very true.
It's going to be like a Dan Marino thing. Wearing these huge leg braces
for the rest of his life. Yes. T-Bass put Scene in a quarterback. Can't be much worse than what we saw the other day. It can't be a whole lot worse than that.
It was bad. The still photo brigade came out on Twitter showing how wide open everybody is.
Oh gosh, it was so
but
bad.
I saw during the game. Yeah, that guy was open. Yeah, that guy was getting wide ass open, and him not crossing routes, just not throwing it to guys that were coming open. And I lauded Nick Mullins for being able to throw with anticipation, and I was crapping on Dobbs for not being able to. And then I was thinking, well, I think Jaron Hall can do that, and he didn't. He looked exactly like Dobbs, late in his dropbacks, slow. He was still fading back as the plays was developing, meaning he was fading back into the sack.
Right.
Basically. Right. So Mullins and both Mullins and Cousins drop back, turn, and they're there to throw. They're not fading. They're not dropping.
Right. Totally agree with your comment, Fark, by the way.
I love Williams' talent. I'm not crazy about his attitude.
Absolutely.
I took bullets for that same call way earlier in the season, man. Yeah, I mean, I think he wouldn't mind coming to Minnesota. He's been tweeting about it. You're tweeting about players because we got 2 of his teammates on our team, and he seems to be Viking friendly. But yeah, when I see a guy moping on the sideline and having teammates coming up to pat him on the shoulder and to pick his spirits up, I'm like, is that the guy I want us leading us? He should be the guy going over his teammates, picking them up off the ground, or and that's my biggest problem with him. Obviously, he's super talented. When you put fuck Notre Dame on your fingernail polish and you get blown out by Notre Dame, I question it. Yeah, I'm questioning your maturity. I'm questioning your maturity if you're drawing fuck Notre Dame on your fingernails.
Here's the thing.
I question the maturity, but
here's the thing about that.
He could grow out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about the crying in the stands.
Right.
Whatever. I'm talking about those two things. Being moping on the sidelines, having your teammates try to pick you up, and the fingernail polish thing. So,
I'll say this.
Specifically, the fuck you Notre Dame. He can wear all the fingernail polish he wants, but you're going to put fucking Notre Dame on national TV. You better back it up.
You know, one of the most underrated players in NBA history is one Larry Joe Bird. Okay. And he and Magic saved the NBA, and then Michael took it to a whole nother level. But
True.
You ask any player that played against Larry Bird, they would tell you he talked so much trash, but he backed it up. Okay. The rivalry between the Celtics and the Lakers obviously was the best thing that could have ever happened to the NBA. And Magic was Magic. And then after that, Jordan was Jordan. And then, we got the next generation, with Kobe and Duncan and Garnett and company. And now the next after that with, Steph Curry and company now. But Larry Joe Bird would, and again, I'm not making it anything except what other people, particularly the players that went against him, said. Charles Barkley told this story that when he was playing in Philadelphia against the Celtics, Larry comes up to Charles and says, "Why are you guys disrespecting me?" And Charles is like, "What are you talking about? We haven't said anything to you. We've made a point not to talk trash to you because we know how good you are." And Larry says, "Well, if you know how bleeping good I am, why do you have a white guy guarding me?" I was like, okay, that's Larry Bird. And he played it up, and he was just an amazing player. But yeah, to your point about Caleb Williams, if you're going to talk that level of smack, you better have something better than what he did that game. So I'll end on the Caleb Williams by saying this. There was a time earlier in the season, about halfway through the college season, I'm just like, boy, I would love to have that guy. I'm not saying that I still wouldn't take him, but I'm not trading up for him.
But
I'd take him, but I'm not trading extra draft capital to get him. Again, I would for Drake May. Shout out Skull for Life, Barbara. What's going on, Barbara? Good to see you. And
you asked me my thoughts. I haven't fallen in love with anybody yet. I'm going to be rooting the shit out of Washington because my ex-quarterback from high school is their defense coordinator.
Right. Yes.
And he followed his head coach there. Well, he was a head coach somewhere else, but he got hired onto Washington because his old coach that he played for and coached with at the University of Sioux Falls that won a national NAIA title.
Right.
Went on to Washington, and that's where he followed him. So I have a mad respect. But we got a South Dakota boy, I went to high school with in the national title. So I'm rooting the hell out of Washington Huskies this week. We got a lot of people saying, "Well, look, we could have got what's the coach's name from Michigan?
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh. Why didn't we do it? Whatever. He could have been ours. Yeah, he could have been ours. I could see that. I think a lot of us think he would possibly been a rental.
Maybe.
But hindsight, we won 13 games last year, and this year was a bunch of injuries. Give me a third year of Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi. I was pretty good. I thought this last draft was good. So, and I think we suffered a lot of setbacks that we actually almost had a fighting chance of coming back. So the people that are thinking this, and I tweeted out this earlier today, is like, all this shit had to happen for you to be right about Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell. Like not you, but injuries, all the injuries, the reffing job at KC and the Lions, and all this shit had to happen for us not to make the playoffs. And on top of that, obviously, is losing our quarterback in week 4. Number 2 is probably the early turnovers that we overcame in the last 4 games Kirk played. We were like -11 before that. That to come back, to have a shot, I'm holding judgment. I'm erasing this year. I'm going into this year as, hey, we got a core of players that are really good. We could always talk about who we're going to get quarterback, but I think we're more on the flavor of who we're going to draft. The question earlier by Kofi, let me pull that up.
Which one?
You said,
if
we re-sign Kirk, why don't we draft defense heavy? And if QB, there is a chance, right, that I don't think all these quarterbacks are going to be drafted in the top 10. I don't think they're all going to be drafted in the top 15. There could be an opportunity there where a guy falls to us, and we already know Kwesi likes to trade down, but and we also regret not sticking where we were at 12, right? Because there was an awesome player there, 2 awesome players, I thought. Well, 3 if you count Williamson, but 3 guys that we could have got that would have made a difference on this team. And we get Lewis Seen, right? But I think it all depends out how Ed Ingram and Andrew Jr. end up being. That might kind of make that feel a little less painful.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I'm done with this season. I'm done with this season.
Shout out,
give me
Yogi.
next year. We're in 2024. Let's go.
Yes,
bring on September.
Yes. Bring on the draft first. I like this comment that Bert, you're absolutely right that he was going to get into a fight and he didn't care where, but anyway, Kofi, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. Probably not tonight, but definitely in the off season, we'll definitely have some shows. I believe last year during our post game after the Vikings lost to the Giants, we had a few people on. So we will definitely
more than happy to have people on.
We'll definitely get that. And on my channel, if you're one of my premium subscribers on either one of my Monday or Thursday night shows, you can get in on that. I've made that one of the perks there, but we will definitely do that here on Under the Lights here as well sometime. Probably not tonight though. Let's see.
In 13 days, I can reapply to be monetized again.
Yes, there you go. There is such a thing as luck. Last year we had it. This year we didn't. Well, there's something to be said for that. There's absolutely something to be said to that. I mean, again, it's for me. You can make the argument, and that I'm sorry, T-Bass had a good point, and I'm gonna put it back. I'll put it back out there. I just have to find it here just a second. T-Bass. He was talking about the San Francisco game. Where did it go? These things keep moving around on me. Sorry, guys. Production value. I know. I thought I started actually. Yes, here it is. What if the Vikings had lost to the Niners? I think would be in the catbird seat for the draft right now. I've said it going into the game that if you lost to the Niners, you do a fire sale. You play your game against the Packers the following week. You trade off Hunter, Harrison Smith, pending free agents, whatever you can get for anything for anybody not named Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Ivan Pace, Cam Bynum, Josh Metellus. Yeah, you could make the argument that winning that San Francisco game gave them false hopes that, you know what, we can still do something. Now, again, the players are always going to go.
It was false.
I'm sorry?
I think it was false hopes.
Clearly,
we have a lot go wrong for us not to make the playoffs. I mean,
okay, if your goal is to make the playoffs, then maybe they weren't. But if your goal was to actually be competitive for something more than just making the playoffs.
Competitive like making the playoffs?
Say what?
Being competitive is making the playoffs.
No, competitive is getting to an NFC championship game and being in a position to win the Super Bowl. Getting to the playoffs.
Like other 9 and 7 teams have done.
Yes, bring up the one example like you always do.
I got 2 examples.
You got the Giants and who?
Packers.
They were 10-6. Next.
Or sorry. 10-6. Sorry.
Yeah, fine. You got 3 examples. You got 2 10-6 teams in the Packers and the Steelers and 1 9-7 team against the Giants.
Playoff teams aren't competitive. Got it. Let's go.
Yes, 3 out of 56 Super Bowls. 3 divided by 56 is what?
Yeah, playoff teams aren't competitive. Let's go. Next topic.
Yeah, my definition of competitive is higher than yours. I have a higher standard. You're
going off the fault. Losing to the best team in the NFC team gave us false hope.
Say that again.
Losing to the best team in the NFC gave us false hope.
You mean beating the best team?
Or beating the best team in the NFC gave us
beating
false
the best team who was shorthanded, didn't have their best playmaker or their left tackle. We didn't have our best playmaker also, and we concussed their quarterback.
Talking about their running back?
No, I'm talking about Debo.
That wasn't their best player. Their best player is the running back.
One of their 2 best players, semantics. Okay, fine.
We were down Justin Jefferson, so negated. I think losing our best player and what you thought their best player was, was negated. False hope?
Yes, false hope.
Finished
7-9. So clearly.
Dude,
yeah, you didn't know you were going to lose Kirk Cousins, but at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're saying that we had false hope.
Yes.
And we hadn't lost Kirk Cousins yet.
Yes. Because you were 4-4 at that point in time. You were 2-4.
We had false hope after beating the best team in the NFC.
You beat the best team at home by 1 possession, and they were shorthanded. We
were shorthanded.
They were more so. Did we have our left tackle? Yes, we did. I'm just saying we barely beat the best team when they were in the midst of a 3-game losing streak.
I told you so. We had false hope.
I'm just going by what the commenter said.
San Francisco. Oh, we went on to beat the Packers, man, by 2 scores.
And they were terrible at that point in time. They've been great since we beat them. We gave them the blueprint of how to play offense because they couldn't do anything against us. And since then, they've been great offensively.
You think that we didn't have a shot, that it was false hope, that we were not going to be competitive after we beat San Francisco? I don't know where you're getting that. We beat San Francisco. We beat the Packers, who you now say is a good team, which the only thing they had a chance against us. They kept dropping the ball and Love kept overthrowing people. So we beat them.
Okay, yeah, you beat them, and then
are the Packers competitive? I mean,
they're competitive to be a team.
Lions competitive? We should have beat the Lions the other day. You know, it's like we could have beat the Lions the other day. We threw a pick at the end of the game.
Okay, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I'll just say this: you can no longer say we're the only team in the NFL that hasn't gotten blown out. That's out the window now too. Anyway,
congratulations.
Yes,
that's now what you can say that we got blown out. Come on.
You wanted to hold on to that. You were
looking back and saying we had
blown
false hope. It's obvious we have false hope now because we got 7 wins. When go back and look that we just beat San Francisco, go on to go 4-4 into the bye week. You think we had false hope?
4-4 is mediocre. 500? I don't know.
We won 3 straight. We solved our turnover issues. We come out of the break with a backup quarterback and go 6-4. Is that 500?
It's 1 game above.
Is that 500? 6-4?
1 game.
I mean, and then we barely lose to Denver. We should have won that game. Was that 7-5?
Come on,
we did not have false hope after beating the best team in the league.
I'll say it like this, and then we'll move on. If Kirk Cousins had never gotten hurt, yes, we'd be a wild card team right now, and maybe we'd still have an outside shot of this weekend's game being for the division.
And we would have lost the first round of playoffs like usual.
Well, no, we might have won 1 playoff game, and then we would have gotten back to the same spot we've been.
Was that false hope?
If your idea of competitive and what satisfies you as a fan is getting to the playoffs and hoping something happens, then fine. You're allowed to have that standard. You're allowed to say, I'm happy.
Then we should sell the team every year.
No, we shouldn't sell. Now
we should blow up the team every year. No, you're saying the same thing to me. If you're satisfied with being mediocre. No, man, we had a good team. Our defense was playing at a high level for about 8 games.
Yes, 8 games. The season ain't 8 games. The other 8 games, they've been garbage. They were terrible the first 4 weeks of the season. The first 3 weeks of the season, which is why you lost to teams like the Chargers and the Buccaneers at home, by the way. And then, yes, you were competitive against the Kansas City Chiefs. You beat the San Francisco 49ers.
We had no hope.
Then you went on a hot streak defensively. And the last 3 weeks, this defense has been trash.
Man, you're looking back in the time machine and saying we had false hope when we still had Kirk Cousins and we just won 3 straight.
To get to 500. A game above 500.
And then we won 2 more. We won 5-0. We were at one point the hottest team in the NFL, quote unquote.
Hang a banner. We were 5-0 and the hottest team at one point in the season during the regular season. I'd rather be 4-0 in the playoffs.
It was a bad memory.
All I'm saying is that, again, this season has turned out exactly like most of the others. I'm not talking about just this season. It's been 40 years. This team
you were the exact guy I was tweeting at, apparently, because I would not expect you to go back in time and say, hey, beating San Francisco was, false hope.
Oh, again, I was responding to the question by the commenter. Yeah. Yes, I said this going into the game. In fact, I said it going into the Chicago game.
Judd said going into the game that beating San Francisco, this team's going nowhere. I have it recorded.
Okay, great. I'll say one more time. I said going into Chicago, if you lose either one of these next 2 games, you should fire sale. So that's not hindsight. And yes, when they beat San Francisco, it was okay. Let's keep going.
It was the right decision.
I didn't say it wasn't the right decision. What I will say is once Kirk went down the following week and you're 4-4 and you don't have, and you still had time to trade players, I would have still done it then. But nevertheless, let's move on. Shout out Minnesota Sports Talk with Al. What's going on, man? I fully checked out of the season, had my anxiety levels high. Maybe burn out. Please draft Michael Penix. I would take Penix. I really would. And like I said, I would take any one of those 4s. Yeah, one and done. You are correct. I digress. What kills me is everyone re-signing Kirk. Listen, we've all had way too many holes in our roster. Thank you. Yes. If Kirk Cousins hadn't gone down, we'd probably made the playoffs and gone one and done. Because
false hope.
Yes. This team has shown, this offensive line has regressed. When Kirk went out, the line was playing great and the defense was starting to play great. And we said, wow, we finally got this.
Always made Dobbs was terrible drop back, slow, fading. You dropped back 10 yards. The offensive line regressed because we had inconsistent. I thought they played good. The 2 game, honestly, they played better the 2 games that Mullins played. I feel like they played pretty good. I don't know what you think. 130 yard rushing by our running back and 411 passing in one game. They seem to like do pretty good the 2 games they were in with Mullins.
Back to the stats. We lost that game by if I recall correctly.
I was asking your opinion. So you're saying the line sucked, or were they good?
They were okay.
This wasn't
2 days ago.
Pride you, man. This was
I'm sorry. I was reading the comments, so I didn't quite catch. To be fair, I was reading and I didn't.
I was asking you what you thought. My point was when Dobbs was playing, his dropbacks were terrible and inconsistent, and the offensive line couldn't protect him right. Plus, he hangs onto the ball longer, so it makes it look like the offensive line. He was holding the ball 6 seconds in like the Atlanta game, so and then the Saints game. I was asking you, didn't you think the line played better when Nick Mullins was the starter for 2 straight weeks?
Better than okay, I get what you're saying. Yes, the offensive line was perceived to have played and looked better with Nick Mullins back there than it was with Josh Dobbs. That I will definitely agree with. I'm saying on Sunday night, the offensive line was terrible. Christian Darrisaw was horrendously bad. So on one hand, I'm not going to in any way try to let Jaron Hall's play off the hook, but his line didn't give him. The first couple of drives, he had opportunities and he missed them. I'm not going to say that. The first couple of drives, we've all seen the still shots. We had guys running wide open, and Hall didn't pull the trigger on it. So I'm not going to say that it was all the offensive line's fault. But if Kirk Cousins plays last night, the way that offensive line played and the way that defensive played, would it have been a closer game? Yes. Am I convinced that they would have won that game? No.
Another point, I know, like Ty Chandler, a couple of times the blitzer just ran him over, right, or whatever. They had.
Sorry, Gary.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. I mean,
I didn't see it until just now. Oh my goodness.
I don't know what you're doing with your ex, man, but
dear Lord,
keep it going. But
it just completely derailed. Shout out to Tony, as long as this.
But if that's I know that was probably commented why I was talking about how we didn't have false hope after being the best team in the league. But anyways, I stand by that. This last game was horrible. Offensive line. Darrisaw disappeared. I don't know what was going on him. It's almost like he gave up. The only guy I think played his ass off was Najee Thompson.
Oh, yeah. He's the only guy that made a play. That's the only reason we got that touchdown.
You could say our receivers were trying their hardest, but I mean, they were, man, the offensive line wasn't given enough time. And even with, it still always looks better in there with the Mullins than it did with Jaron Hall.
No, I that part I do not disagree with. Gary, golly. Oh, you got to be kidding me. All I'm saying is this. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, whether you are I want them to win every game and let the chips fall for next season, fine. If you're somebody like me that is willing to accept short-term pain for long-term gain, that the 3-hour sugar high, the 5 minutes of, hey, we won the last game of the year, and now instead of being 7-10, we're 8-9, and we cost ourselves draft position, that's fine too. What I'm not going to listen to from anybody, no matter what side you're on, is, and I'm not saying this to you, I'm saying this in a general sense because it's already gone on too much all over the place. Stop telling the other side that they're bad fans. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know. I've been hearing how bad, how I'm a Kirk fan and not a Vikings fan.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the factions of being willing to accept losses in a lost season that could potentially up the percentages of helping this team get rebuilt in a way that can be competitive for a championship versus no, we play to win every game and we got to set the culture. Okay, you know what? One game at the end of a lost season isn't going to change your culture one bit. If your culture is that fragile that if you win the game, you have a good culture, and if you lose the game, you don't have a good culture, then your culture isn't on that much of a solid ground.
So let me ask you, do you want what are you suggesting then?
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm saying if you're on my side,
you must be suggesting something.
I'm suggesting that both factions stop calling the other faction bad fans. That's what I'm suggesting right now. And I'm not talking you and me in general. I'm saying in a general sense. I don't like when people say, Justin, you're a bad fan if you're not pulling for the team to win 100% of the time. And I'm saying I'm not a bad fan. And I'm not going to call that other person who says it to me, you're a bad fan for not seeing the big picture. If you want to look at today and you don't want to be forward thinking, that's fine. I'm not going to call you a bad fan. So
I would agree with that. I think we're both fans. One just wants us to win and one wants us to lose.
One of us wants to win a Super Bowl and not a meaningless game. But I digress. We're not going to agree. And that's fine. We can have different opinions. All right. Let me get some shout outs here. There's a couple people here that I haven't shouted out yet. I already got Minnesota Sports Talk with Al, but I'll get you again. We got Zach in the building. What's going on, Zach? Good to see you. I'm going to get back to that one from Fart Brain because that's a pretty good one there too. Let's see. There was one more here. I'm sorry. That is an idea, but I digress. You're welcome, Mary. I appreciate it. What's going on, Joey? There you are. I knew I saw somebody in here we hadn't showed out here. What's going on, Joey? Good to see you. Well, again, it's not that I'm pulling for them to lose. I want to be entertained. And yes, the amount of value of them winning on Sunday is this much. And the amount of value potentially of them losing is greater. So I'm going to go with the option that gives me the greater value. Sometimes when you win, you really lose. And sometimes
that's your perception. I mean, isn't it? Right?
Yes, it is my perception. You're right. It is my perception that after 44 years,
perception of playing your hardest and not giving up. And
again, I'm not talking about the players. I'm not talking about the players and the coaches. Of course, the players and the coaches are going to try to win.
They matter the most, man. I think these are people's careers. We may give up on a player this Sunday because of the way he played. I'm hoping they all play great, and I guarantee if they win the game, I'm going to accept the results of the game, but holy shit, I want them to beat the Lions. I don't know about, I want us to win. I want us to play good. I want good tape.
You can play good and still not win. We've played good a lot this year and still haven't won because it was turnovers this or just a couple of bad calls by the refs that. We've played good and didn't win.
And again, I can respect your decision, but more times than not, I've been told I was not a fan of the Vikings. I was a Kirk Cousins fan. And here I am, week 17 or 18, hoping for the Vikings to win, and Kirk Cousins is not under contract. So I think I can put that to rest. But yeah, I'm just gonna be on the other side that losing means certain players didn't do their job.
And if they didn't do their job,
could play really good and still
they probably
lose.
weren't that good to begin with. Uh-oh. I didn't do it. All right, now I'm running the show, ladies and gentlemen. In all seriousness, again, we'll move off of the topic because at the end of the day, we're less than a week away from what's most likely the final game of the season. He tried to get back in and then he came out again. So maybe maybe the internet gremlins got him because the internet gremlins agree with me. I don't know. Hold on just a second here. There was a good comment here. Okay, Kofi, yes. Drafting 9 or 15 doesn't guarantee you an impact player either. No, it doesn't guarantee it, but it does give you a better statistical chance of getting an impact player or a player. And by the way, if let's say they make the playoffs, Kofi, at best, they're going to be drafting 21st. If you make the playoffs, there's 32 teams at best, you'd be drafting 18th. It's a lot easier to trade up to say the 5th pick if you wanted to get one of those top tier quarterbacks, trading up from 9 than it is at 18. And guess what? It's not just 9 to 15. It's draft spots in 7 different rounds. So in reality, it's actually 42 picks worth of value there. So again, I don't want to go down this road too much because ultimately
we're talking about the draft. If we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the draft, and there's a lot of thought to, hey, we just don't want a bad draft pick. And I will continuously bring up the fact that Jordan Addison, Darisaw, Justin Jefferson were all drafted in the 20s.
That means
so. You can't never what? I can't have this opinion. I'm just.
Well, it's not, those are facts. That's where they were drafted. But yeah,
those aren't bad picks, right?
Nobody said they were bad picks.
They're good. No, you'll hear that I don't want a bad draft pick, or another low draft pick or whatever. No, those are great players that we picked. We got them, and I think a lot can be said to that. That we also had really bad high round picks. That even though Khalil had one Pro Bowl, he was picked 3rd. We had Troy Williamson. We basically went for need on that position because we traded off Randy Moss. So we've had those high draft picks bombed. We've had middle draft picks bombed. We've had low draft picks bombed, but we've also had really good picks recently that are cores of our offense and in the 20s. And I don't think that, hey, now I know everybody's thought is, well, we need to get one of those top quarterbacks and we need a top 10 pick to do it, or we need to get up there and it's harder to get there down. I understand that, but I don't know. Some people call it a bad draft pick.
Well, I'm not. I'm just saying I'd rather have a better one.
If we get a impact defensive line in the first round, I'm not going to cry about it.
I'm not either. I'm just saying I'd rather have better odds. That's all.
I wasn't in the conversation. I'm just stating what I thought. We're talking about the draft, so I'm not pointing.
No, we're talking about the same thing we've been talked about. I was joking to say, hey, maybe the internet gremlins got you because they agree with me. That's about all I said when you were not there.
You would, yeah.
Yeah, I would. You would have said the same thing, but that's all right. Skulltron, Julio, what's going on? Certain players cannot do their jobs and still win you games. Some players can try hard and do their jobs and you still lose. Thank you. Doesn't matter what we as fans.
It's very true. That's true. As I got kicked out, I was about to say that doesn't mean that they can't play good and still lose. Yeah, but more than likely, if it's a game like the Packers, some players played bad.
All right, Kofi, just because that example didn't work out the way they've wanted to thus far doesn't mean that the process was incorrect. Look at what the Bears did. They had the number 1 pick and traded back 7 slots to get next year's first round pick, which has turned out to be the number 1 pick. So both sides of that coin ring true, that it didn't work for the Packers, but it for dang sure worked for the Bears. The Bears got their new GM the same time we got Kwesi, and the Bears said, we're tearing it down. Who's in a better spot right now for the next couple of seasons? You could make the argument either way, but it's after last year, the Vikings were far ahead of where the Bears were, and now not so much. That's all I'm saying. And to T-Bass's point, higher picks equals more choices. Yes, we were. Who was the player we missed out on? Micah Parsons. We missed out on him by like 2 picks. We had lost one more game, we would have been in position to take Micah Parsons. Just because whoever we took that year was still a good player doesn't mean that we would have been better off having 2 higher picks to be able to take Micah Parsons, for example. So there's examples both ways. And again, I'm trying to move off.
Yeah, we didn't draft Aaron Donald. I mean,
well, that's true.
We had a chance to pick him.
Yeah, had a chance. Didn't do anything. Made the wrong choice.
Doesn't mean we were drafted Micah Parsons.
Gary, I have no idea where you're going with that. I have no idea and where in the world you are going with that at all. So I'm just going to let that one go. But one thing I will say to this one, Kofi, the Panthers did that in the Kwesi believe in the quarterback, then trade all the picks and the future picks to get him. All right. I'll play along, Kofi. I'll play along. If you had the 15th pick and you wanted Drake May and you had to trade up to 3, you'd have to give up 2 future first round picks and probably a 3rd. But if you're at the 9th overall pick, you probably have to trade up maybe a future first or maybe a future 2nd and a 3rd, which then means you have more draft capital to figure out the rest of the roster deficiencies. That's where I'm going with it, is that, yes, I want my starting point to be as high as it can be so that if I do have to move up, I don't have to pay as much, and then I can fix the other obvious issues on this team. Yes, get a good player.
So I 100% agree with this statement. I had 3 guys on mine. We didn't draft one of them. We traded down to 32. I think all 3 are showing their potential in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And one's amazing, Kyle Hamilton. But there was no guarantee we'd have took Kyle Hamilton, because even then we weren't looking safety, right? And so
until we were.
And well, I mean, even if we didn't draft Kyle or Lewis Seen, we could potentially still have these same players that we have right now, and that was the strength of our defense, right? Or one of the strengths of our defense. So we may not even have taken Kyle Hamilton, but I definitely wouldn't have mind a nose tackle that was in the Georgia nose tackle that was in the.
Well, at the end of the day, this Vikings roster has so many holes. They need edge rushers, they need defensive tackle, they need quarterbacks, and they need a quarterback. Whether they need him immediately, or
I
they
would
need
think
him in the next year or two.
If Wanham's back, and if well, not saying he is, but if Wanham back and Daniel Hunter back, is an edge rusher or still our interior D line more important of a whole?
Well, if you have Daniil Hunter and DJ Wanham back, then clearly interior is more important.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible to bring back Kirk, Daniil Hunter, and sign Justin Jefferson. I think you're going to have to go 2 out of 3. And the only way you could go 3 out of 3 would then to be pushing more money down the road into void years, which is something I don't really want to do. Shout out Skull Mafia. Yes, there are ladies in the chat. So Gary and T-Bass, enough with your
I just suggest I would just suggest not putting that stuff up.
Well, the last couple I didn't. The last couple I didn't. But anyway, I digress. No, I agree with Al though. If Penix wins the championship game, he probably won't get past top 10. But at that point, you're talking Drake May, Caleb Williams, Penix, and if Jaden Daniels is the 4th guy, then like I said, I'm cool with any of those guys. I've made my stance clear. I don't think it's a wise move from a roster construction standpoint, because I think if you bring back a 36-year-old off an Achilles injury at market value, that it makes the rest of your team building activities extremely, extremely difficult. Not impossible, but extremely, extremely difficult. And I'm sorry, I will not believe it until I see it. This notion of, well, Kirk can take a team-friendly deal. Kirk is not taking anything less than $40 million. He's not going to take less than what Daniel Jones got, particularly with all of these backup quarterbacks and how garbage they've been. Why would Kirk sell himself short that way? And let me be clear. I'm not saying Kirk is under any obligation to take less money. I wouldn't, and I don't blame him for not. I'm just saying that, his market value before he got hurt was about 45 to 50 million. And with him being hurt, I would still say it's probably around 40 to 45. And 40 to 45 to me, for a 36-year-old whose cap hit's going to add 10 million to whatever money you give him. No, I'm not doing it. But
yeah, that could all be true. And Vikings need to make a business decision.
Well, they probably will. And this gets back to what Skulltron just said. Shout out to the Wills for finally replacing the turf. Yes. But where I'm going with that is all these decisions we can talk about what Justin Jefferson wants or what Kevin O'Connell wants or what Kwesi wants. It's all about what the owners want. And the owners are more afraid. Their desire to not be bad is greater than their desire to be great. So I would not be surprised if they bring back Kirk Cousins. Now, if they bring back Kirk Cousins and Kirk legitimately takes a substantial team-friendly deal, I don't mean takes a $5 million discount. I'm talking 15 to 20. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I could live with it. But I don't think he's going to sell himself short. I don't think his agent's going to be, oh, yeah, Kirk, why don't you just take a $20-25 million deal? He's not going to do that. So we'll see. Business decisions, as you say.
I know the eyes might roll, but coming from the coach's standpoint, and you're just coming off a 7-win season, potentially here, don't make the playoffs in your second year, you're thinking – and you're same way with the GM, like, hey, I had a pretty mediocre first draft. Second one doesn't knock it out of the park, let's say. Addison, although is pretty good.
Addison for sure, yep.
Yeah, and then you got a couple, a free agent that made you look, at least good, if not pretty good. You're wanting to win, right? And you're just going off of your money. You talked about taking $15 million discount. That would, that put them around 30, right?
Yeah, right. Yep.
Roughly. Which I I think 30 with incentives is probably what they would be like, that easily attainable incentives type of thing is probably what they would do if they do bring him back. But the whole thought of saving 15 million and putting a quarterback that is not $15 million worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got this guy and you know how well he can play, potentially, because obviously some people may not return from an Achilles injury. Just this is from the coach and the GM who are one season away from a hot seat. Would they rather have that player or not, have a player they don't even know who's going to be yet, and save 15 million prior to the draft? You know what I'm saying? Do you see from their side, I'm one season away from a hot seat?
They're not. That's where I disagree. If they were to move off of Kirk and draft another guy and bring in a journeyman, that resets their clock. They're not going to be on the hot seat if they get rid of Kirk and have a 4 or 5.
You never seen a coach draft a quarterback, have him take over, then lose his job that next year.
With the Wilfs history of how they have hung on to head coaches, because you wanted to talk about, hey,
that
how
is
have
true.
things gone in history?
That is true.
I think that if Kwesi and O'Connell went to the Wilfs and said, hey, we're going to draft a guy, the Wilfs will say, all right, fine, you got at least 2 years. They're not going to be I don't think they would be unrealistic that way.
Skull Mafia's thing here, Dave, because you seem to think it was really important by pointing at it. Dave, even with Kirk, where is that going to get his?
This is what he meant, but yes. With Kirk Cousins, what does that get the Vikings? It gets them to be a team that is around 8 to 10 wins.
I am telling you, this is not necessarily in my opinion. I have said that, hey, it's going to be a decision whether the money makes sense to them. But do you recognize that all they've talked about is, how Kirk made this, Kirk this and Kirk that after the Achilles, and Justin Jefferson coming out, we miss our leader, miss our captain. Not everybody can. We know that now. Not everybody can play quarterback. This is rough quotes of Justin Jefferson.
Shout out, cause and effect.
Do you not think that that's kind of the direction they want to go? Like, they're going to try to make an effort to re-sign him?
Justin Jefferson complimented every quarterback. He complimented Dobbs. He complimented Mullins. He complimented Hall. That's just Justin being
okay.
A good
deflection. Quarterback or coach and GM, they're making the decision. I've already stated what I thought they would be thinking. Do you not think they're headed that direction, though?
That very well may be what they're thinking, but no, I don't. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Yes.
You don't think that's the direction?
Kirk is a nice 6, and we've been playing with 2s, 3s, and 3.5s. Nothing about what we have seen, in my opinion anyway, has changed.
Is that a reference to how good looking somebody is?
No, I'm talking about, okay, you don't got to take I'm just using the analogy. I've always said it on a scale of 1 to 10.
That's what I'm asking. Is that the analogy? No. Like, he's a okay player?
He's a 6 out of 10 as a quarterback. 6 out of 10. And the guys that we've had are 2, 3, and 4 out of 10. Of course, they're not going to be as good as what Kirk was. Of course, they're not. But it doesn't change.
My point is that does the 15 million you save improve your team enough to overcompensate the loss of your apparent number 6, who was not playing at like a 6 when he went down, but you think he is?
4. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Does that overcompensate?
Okay, this is what I'm saying about forward thinking versus singular thoughts. No, the 15 million does not compensate in one season. I'm thinking about more than just one season.
And you think that's what they're thinking?
I'm saying that I think that is what Kwesi is thinking, yes. And whether the Wilfs will allow him to explore that possibility is the $64 bazillion question.
Just wondering, because I run into this all the time. What has Kwesi done, said, any of it that makes you think that?
He didn't hold on to Eric Kendricks and Adam Thielen. And if you were thinking about 1 year at a time, they would have held on to those players and said the salary cap implications be danged. The Vikings, for the first time in 4 years, are actually going to have a positive number of salary cap space at the start of free agency and not be $15 to $25 million in the red.
So even in an even better situation to maintain. So
maintain what? Okay. All right. Now we're getting somewhere, and we're going to wrap after that. Maintain what? Mediocrity. The last
I think
4 years have been.
I think you've erased your memory of all the injuries that we had this year.
If that meant okay, yes.
3 weeks ago, when our defense was playing high, you thought we had a pretty damn good defense. This is a very good defense.
And I said we had a chance of making the wild card, and maybe if we got real lucky, pulling off a road win upset, particularly if we got to play
then
Detroit.
Throw in Kirk Cousins the whole season, and then where do you think we'd be
and
then?
If you throw that
Same
all in,
deal?
My expectations then would have been that we would have probably gotten to the divisional round of the playoffs and lost. And to me, big deal. I say big deal to that because for 44 years, I have watched this team really bottom out and be a horrible team for 2 or 3 years. But they've also never been great for more than a year or two.
And my question was not what you want, what you think. And you think Kwesi thinks the same way is what I'm getting. And I asked you, what has he done? And you're saying it's because the old receiver getting $18 million that only got 600 yards receiving, and Eric Kendricks, the old linebacker, makes you think that he's going to do the same thing with the QB now that he actually has cap room. Like we now actually have cap room, and you're saying he's going to move on from those guys.
Yes, because we also have far more holes in this roster that need to be filled as well. We have one pass rusher in Danielle Hunter who is not under contract. The other pass rusher just had a season-ending injury who is not under contract. We have nothing on the interior of the defensive line. We've got some okay guys in the secondary as far as the cornerbacks go. There is a reason that this defense has been a roller coaster this year. The first 4 or 5 games, they were mediocre to bad. Then they got hot.
You're going to use that money to go after free agents then.
Theoretically, and re-sign Justin Jefferson and Christian Darrisaw, and so who else do they? That's about it on the offenses. Well, no, they still need a left guard because Dalton Reisner's not under contract.
So my question, you're thinking about the future. Are those free agents long-term signings or just year signing? Because I want to plan. You know what I'm saying? It is one thing to say, hey, let's not re-sign a quarterback. Yeah, fine. But then go, now I'm thinking long-term, the future, and then say, hey, we're going to use all this money to go after free agents, players other teams didn't want or couldn't afford. So we're either going to get the players that didn't want or the players that couldn't afford. So if we go after the good players that people couldn't afford, that means we're long-term deals. So if to go with your, hey, we're going to build off a rookie quarterback, great. But that means just filling in veterans in spots and actually rebuilding. You know what I'm saying? Is that I want to hear your plan other than, hey, we got a lot of money.
My plan is this. I'm not afraid that if we move on from Kirk Cousins and draft a rookie quarterback that either starts right away or find a very inexpensive bridge quarterback, I'm not afraid of maybe 2 bad seasons. Say what?
We got one. He's $2 million.
Okay, fine. Yes, if you told me right now, hey, we're going to go with Nick Mullins next year. We're going to draft a quarterback in the first round this year who we're going to groom for a year. And then we're going to say goodbye to Kirk Cousins. We're going to say goodbye to Danielle Hunter. We're going to rebuild around the young core that we have, not necessarily the older players. Yes, I would accept that. Would I like it per se? Not really. But I would accept it. If you told me right now 2024 is going to be a chicken bleep season where we win somewhere between 3 and 5 games. And that 2025, we're going to win somewhere between 6 and 7 games, somewhere in that vicinity. But starting with 2026 through 2029, we're going to have a 4-year window where we are getting to, at minimum, the divisional round, if not the NFC Championship game. And somehow, some way, we won a Super Bowl in that 4-year window. I am more than willing to suffer through 2 bad seasons, because all we've done is suffer through mediocre seasons. This season, as it turns out, will either be a 7 or 8 win team. And if we had traded a bunch of players away after the Green Bay victory when we were 4-4, we might have been a 4 or 5 win team. What is the difference? Except that you're clearing your salary cap books and you're getting younger and you're starting to bring in different players that you hope you can develop. I'd rather take that. That's my plan. Yes.
In this plan, in this plan, I have the question. Darisaw and Justin Jefferson are part of that, because teams that rebuild don't sign players for $30 million, $35 million that play receiver and left tackle. They don't spend $35 million on those players.
That's because they probably have quarterbacks that are like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. That's why they don't. That's why Kansas City didn't pay Tyreek Hill, because they had Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. That's why Miami did sign him, because they got Tua Tagovailoa on a cheap deal. So it's not a one-to-one. These teams do, these teams don't. It's about timing. It's about where the rest of your roster is. It's about where your salary cap health is. And this team has not had salary cap health in
Miami
a very,
just got
very long
blown
time.
out by 40 points or 35, 40 points because the same issues you said about us. They lost players and now they're struggling. You know what I'm saying?
They lost to what is arguably one of the best teams.
$35 million quarterback is a bigger weight on the team than a $30 million left tackle and a $35 million receiver. $70 million into the left tackle and receiver for 5 years or whatever it'll be, 4 or 5 years. You think that's a lighter weight?
Kirk will not be $35 million next year. He won't. He will take a minimum $35 million just to get back on the team, which means his cap hit will be $45. So the wait,
no matter what quarterback we have, add $28 million to it. It's the same deal. That $28 million is there. It's a albatross over our head. No matter what quarterback we have,
I've been talking about that.
We either face $10 million or $28 million next year, depending on what quarterback we have. If Kirk's on here, it's 28. If it's Kirk, it's 10. So what
do you mean it's 10? Right? What do you mean it's 10?
Isn't it 10 next year?
Yeah, but then the other 18 gets pushed out to 25, so you're still running into that problem.
Saying I'm talking about next year, right? Anyway.
Yes, thank you. You proved my point. You're talking about next year. I'm talking about the next handful of years.
You just brought up Kirk and his contract being $45 million next year. Yeah, $10 million but it'll be 28 if it's not him.
Great.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Why is that why isn't that a thing?
Hold on. You're saying that if Kirk is not here, he will count as $28 million on the 2024 cap. Right. And if he is here and he signed for $35 million, he would be $45 million on next year's salary cap. So what you're saying is that is only a net difference of $17 million. I understand that.
And guess what? We'll still have a rookie quarterback probably, and you'll be learning under Kirk. And we have an opportunity to bridge the gap with Justin Jefferson. You just said nice things to be nice about Kirk. No, he said pretty stringent things like, hey, not everybody can play that. We found out not everybody can play that position. No offense to Mullins was his next line. Yeah. But, he literally is advocating for having a quarterback and get him the ball. So, I mean, your plan is
Penix could not get him the ball at all. No.
Oh, you're on the whole anybody can throw to Justin Jefferson train. So.
No, I'm saying that the possibility does exist that there might actually be another human being on this planet that can throw Justin Jefferson the ball besides Kirk Cousins. Just because Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, and Jaron Hall.
So Justin's only cares about his stats then.
That's not what I said at all.
No, not at all. He wants to win.
Yes, he wants to win because he is a player, and players think they can win the Super Bowl every year. Every player on all 32 teams at the beginning of the season.
What are you arguing about? That he'll play for us no matter what, or he will play for us if we're only winning? What is your argument there?
I'm saying that Justin Jefferson is under contract for next season, and the Vikings have him for 2 more years due to the franchise tag. If Justin Jefferson is so disappointed with not having Kirk Cousins and demands a trade, then
it's not about Kirk. It's having a competent quarterback to throw it to him.
Either way.
Isn't that the deal?
Okay, the flaw in your logic is that you think that we can't let go of Kirk until we have somebody that is equal to him or greater. Otherwise,
no. My point is that you think Justin Jefferson and Darrisaw are a lock in your plan, and you're talking about 3 and 5 win seasons.
Money talks.
3 and 5 win seasons, and you're talking about Darrisaw and Justin Jefferson wanting to sign with us. That is my flaw in your plan. I'm just pointing it out. You think I'm just. You may think that.
Shout out to you. Thanks for
your point. Fine, but your point is Justin Jefferson and Darrisaw will still be here in 3 and 5 win seasons and not winning until year 4. That's what I'm getting from you. I'm just trying to understand that. That's what your thought process.
One, you have to go to Justin Jefferson and say, hey, if you want to get paid the way you want to get paid, we can't afford to do that and give Kirk money and field a competitive team around you. If you want your quarterback, then you're going to have to accept
I'll go to a team that can pay me and do that.
Great. If that's what it takes, not my first choice, but if that's what it takes, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sign Kirk for 2. First off, he's not going to take a 1 year.
That's fine. I'm just asking you what your plan is with Justin Jefferson.
My plan with Justin Jefferson is this. If you sign Kirk to 2 years and you don't have a succession plan, because guess what? If you sign Kirk for 2 more years, they're not going to draft a quarterback in the first round. They're going to say we need to draft a defensive tackle because we've got so many other holes on our roster. And right now we have a 2-year plan for quarterback.
And so there's like 5 really good quarterbacks and one might
just
drop to the second round.
Getting our next quarterback like we've done for the last 4 years. This is why I said to you last year, I wanted to get Anthony Richardson, and you said, well, no, there's better guys next year. If they re-sign Kirk and they re-sign Justin Jefferson.
You're saying that we won't. Years, now you're saying we're not going to draft a quarterback.
I'm saying that.
Are we only drafting a quarterback if we don't re-sign Kirk?
I'm saying the likelihood of them drafting a quarterback is far greater if they don't bring Kirk Cousins back, which means by definition, I think if they bring Kirk Cousins back, that the chances of drafting a quarterback are far less. Because if they re-sign Kirk Cousins, that means they will have convinced themselves that Kirk Cousins is fully recovered from his Achilles injury, that Kirk Cousins is worth his market value, and that this team isn't all that far off, because that's the mindset of the Wilfs. They always think they're just 1 or 2 players away. They never see the big picture and take a step back. So yes, if they bring back Kirk, I'm not convinced. And in fact, I would bet on the other side that they say, you know what? We're not going to draft a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. We're going to get a defensive tackle. We're going to get another cornerback, and then you'll be right back to square one. And after the Kirk Cousins 2-year contract expires and Justin Jefferson has re-signed, you'll still have nothing, and you'll be in the same boat. Justin Jefferson doesn't want to be here because he doesn't have competent quarterback play. Stephon Diggs signed his extension at the beginning of the 2018 season after the miracle play, and after 2 seasons, he was out of here. If you don't think that possibility still exists with Justin Jefferson, that signing Kirk Cousins to a 2-year deal.
Are you comparing our head coaches? One's the offensive coordinator that throws
I'm talking
the ball.
About a wide receiver that signed a contract for 5 years and 2 years later wanted out for whatever reason. Whether it's the coaches
throwing the ball very little, he had 60 catches.
Dave. My point
doesn't matter. We're talking about a guy's getting 110 catches compared to a guy's getting 60.
You have no succession plan because you didn't take one, and then you probably won't.
You're assuming that we're not. Now you're assuming we're not going to. I think a lot of people, and it's not my polls, it's other people's polls, they're leaning. They're a lot. Even Score North guys at 35% want a succession plan of having Kirk with a rookie.
I understand that, and that wouldn't be the worst idea. That isn't what my point is. No, it's not.
And what I'm fully willing to settle with moving on to a starting quarterback. My likelihood of winning next year probably goes down, but it also lowers, which will lower my anticipation of whether or not Justin Jefferson will sign before the season. Because free agency happens before the draft, so I put that into. Now I'm going into the draft, and my quarterbacks are Nick Mullins and and Jaron Hall. That is not a plan. I think any GM or coach wants going into a draft not knowing if they're who they're going to get, and you're free, and then saying, "Oh my God, we need to do something. Let me get Russell Wilson." All right, so it's like if we sign Russell Wilson, I'm like, now we're we're definitely just throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because it took 2 years for Kirk to get really awesome in this offense. To now we're just going to plug a quarterback in that has struggled in the past and was super conservative this year. His numbers might be there, but the guy has 6.9 yards per average throw. And when he played against us, he threw one long ball and that was it. So I don't know. If we go to, I think it's Kirk or no Kirk, right? Kirk or no Kirk. I don't think if we don't go with Kirk, I don't think we're pulling in a Russell Wilson, right?
Absolutely not.
Right.
I have I have less than zero interest in Russell Wilson.
I just think in your plan, I'm just bringing up the fact. I know you think I'm
like, Mick. I know I'm way
trying
behind.
To trash on you or something, but I'm just wanting to know, is Justin Jefferson and Darisaw along for the ride, taking up $70 million of cap space for the next 5 years? You know what I'm saying?
And again, that's not that daunting when you don't have a quarterback at market value anymore. And again, I don't want to sign him for 1 to 2 years and then spread out that 28.5 over more years. I want to pay that bill and then have all of that money. It doesn't have to be
spread out. Well, I mean, it's spread out right now.
And it would be saying
you don't want it at all.
If you don't sign him, you have to pay the full $28.5 million on 2024.
Right. If you don't sign him, but if you sign him, then it stays spread out, right?
It stays spread out for the amount of years you re-sign him for. So here's the quick breakdown. There was a comment earlier, and I was looking for it because I knew we were going to get to this point. And I apologize to whichever commenter it was to say what was there's a date. I believe it is in fact March 13th. But give me just a second. I'm going to find this comment, and then for real, I got a buzz because Grandpa Dave from Vikings First and Skull is expecting a little something in his inbox, and I haven't found it. Okay, hold on just a second. I'm going to find this comment if it is the last thing that I do tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, it was by Kofi. Oh, there it is. They have to sign Kirk by March 13th to avoid the 30+ million cap hit. Well, 28.5. If so, Kirk has more leverage. Not necessarily. But to answer the question, 28.5 million is as follows: 10 and a quarter on 24 and 25, 4 million each on 25 and 26. If he is not re-signed by March 13th, all 28.5 of that will hit the 2024 cap. If he is re-signed for, let's just say, 2 years, then the 10s in the 24 and 25 will stay there and be added to whatever his new contract is. And then the 4s stay in 26 and 27. And if he is not retained after that 2-year hypothetical extension, then all 8 will hit on, what would that be, 2026. So yes, you can spread it out by adding more years to his contract, but I don't want to spread it out. I want it paid off. I'd rather have all 28 million paid in 2024 and be done with it and not have that rolling debt carry over. That's the other difference. Again, to wrap up this conversation, because again, this was not the direction, but hey, there's still 38 people in the building watching us debate this, so I guess it's a hot topic right now. All I am saying,
well, I think the future plans of the Vikings, I mean,
yeah.
You're making your point about 3 and 5 win seasons. I'm talking about if we I think that Kwesi and
shout out Zoe,
Kevin O'Connell are coaches and GMs that might be on the hot seat, and they don't want to have a 3-win season next year, or a 5-win season, or a 7-win season.
Shout out to Jonathan. I didn't say your name. Shout out, Jonathan. What's going on? Aside from the fact that you agree with me.
Shout outs. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I guess what I'm saying is what I gather from this is I am more willing to accept a down year or two, and you want to remain competitive.
No, I'm pointing the fact out that coaches and GMs don't want to accept a down year.
And I'm saying that a GM that's only been here for 2 years might have said that when he got hired, which is, all right, we'll try it your way for a couple of years, and if we don't win a Super, if it doesn't turn out the way we want,
is it the GM saying, "Hey, I will try it your way, Wills," or is it the Wilfs saying,
"You're
for
going
2 years now, we'll do it my way," or is it the Wilfs saying, "You do it our way or the highway"? Which is it?
Could very well be. We'll find out. Real quick.
If you think the Wilfs are steering the ship, I don't think Kwesi's going, "Hey, we try it your way, man. It's not working." I don't think that's the case, though, right? I think it
might not.
I just don't know why anybody can't. That is so dead set on. And I get it. He's got an Achilles injury, and you didn't want him in the first place. But dead set on getting rid of, moving on from Kirk, and thinking that Kwesi and the KOC want that. And you already saying that it's 3 to 5 win seasons, and maybe whatever. Even if it's 7, that's not KOC and Kwesi. They want to win. And is it so hard to believe that we'd bring a quarterback back, right, on a 2-year deal, probably not 2nd year guaranteed?
He would never.
I would think so, because of I don't sign that deal. I don't sign that deal. You wouldn't either, right?
No,
because of the injury. Because of the injury yet. So if we're doing a 1 year, a 1 year with maybe a $5 or $10 million guarantee that 2nd year that we might have to eat if we move on or trade him, right? We're not doing a no trade clause. We're not doing a 2nd year. We're not signing that deal again, right? So I think we both could agree on that, right? We're not signing that deal. That 1 year with cap room, we have Kirk, we have Justin, we have Darisaw, we've drafted a heir apparent to Kirk. I mean, the Packers did it, right? Twice. They drafted an heir apparent to their quarterback. Why they had the quarterback. So I don't see why 1 year with a non-2nd year guaranteed, we can't go into the season and be competent, if not good, because we were good with Kirk. We were good with the team we had.
Good.
Until he went down. I know.
Good.
Yeah,
we were good.
You think turnovers are strictly because Kirk was present on the team?
No, I didn't say that at all. Now you're just making crap up.
It was that was not us the year before. It all of a sudden became us in year 2, unsuspectingly. We've solved that issue in about week at the KC game. We only gave it one turnover. We started to solve that issue.
1, 2, 3.
So I don't see. I know you're having conversations, man. With
no, I just said shout out Vikings fan 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
that's all I said.
I know, but you do not see me doing shout outs while you're talking.
All right, fine.
Let's go, man. Right. But you got Kirk for 1 year. You got a quarterback to take over the future, and guess what? Your plan is still in place.
And guess what? Your plan doesn't happen in the first place because Kirk's not taking a 1 year deal, and he's not taking a 1 year deal with no guaranteed money in the 2nd year. He's not doing that.
I didn't say that.
You said 1 year and low.
You're not listening because you're talking to the chat. I said 2 years. The 2nd year is not fully guaranteed, like $10 million.
He wouldn't take that
guaranteed money.
I heard you. He wouldn't take that.
You said I said no guarantee.
Sorry, I said low. 10 million guaranteed for Kirk is a low guaranteed. I said low, not no. But either way, right. I heard what you said. So either way, Kirk's not taking a deal like that. He's not. I don't think.
So we're not making long-term investments on we're taking a 2-year losing season, and Kwesi and KOC are going to still be here. Justin Jefferson, Darisaw re-signed, knowing, with 2 years of losing, that's your expectations. And then finally we can really start to go after it in year 3 of the rookie quarterback. That's what I'm gathering from you, right? Like Darisaw, Justin Jefferson, we can afford them now because we don't have Kirk. We got the rookie quarterback, top 10. Get the second May. Is it Derek May? Did I say that right?
Drake May. Yep.
Drake May, or any one of the guys that you wanted, JJ McCarthy,
yeah,
whatever.
Right.
So in year 3 of him, we've now lost 2 seasons in a row. You 3 were hitting it running, right? Mm-hmm. But we still have Kwesi and O'Connell, right?
Maybe not.
After 2 losing seasons,
they're not going to get fired.
And Darisaw are still signed for years.
Yes. What's bad about that?
Oh, nothing's bad about it. I just don't think it's realistic that
I don't think it's realistic to sign into a 1 or 2 year deal.
And O'Connell are all going to be here after 3 losing seasons in a row.
But the clock will restart. Typically, when a GM and or head coach draft their own quarterback, the clock resets. So anything in the first 2 years, the great 13-4 first round exit that
NFL law? Because I've seen coaches get fired after drafting quarterbacks.
And I've seen the Wills hang on to coaches for 8 years at a time. So yes, I think that if the four of them, Ziggy, Mark, Kwesi, and O'Connell, sat down and said, all right, we can keep doing it the way that you guys have done it as owners for 19 seasons, which has garnered you 2 NFC championship games and no Super Bowl championships. Or here's another plan we can go with. It is going to require that there are going to be tough stretches in the short term, but we feel that in the long term, it gives us a better chance to win a Super Bowl. Boss,
can I ask you a question?
Ziggy, Mark, which way do you want to go?
Since you brought up Ziggy and Mark,
yeah,
in that history, did we keep a coach and a GM in the after 3 years of losing seasons? How many times have we done that? Because you said we keep 8 years, whatever, but in that history that you're talking about, that has proven to you that the Wolves will keep a GM and a coach, and in that history that you're bringing up, how many times has it been that we had 3 losing seasons in a row and we brought that coach and GM back the year after?
How many times has it been that in this hypothetical that the coach and general manager, particularly the general manager, went to the Wilfs and sat them down and said, hey, this is
the
what
Wilfs that are controlling everything.
Every owner controls everything.
Kwesi's sitting them down. Okay, go ahead.
I'm saying, hey, bosses, this is what our offseason plans are. Here's plan A. We continue to go down the same road that we have gone down, or that the Vikings as an organization have gone down since you've owned the team, aside from the fact that that's basically what the entire history of this team is in my lifetime, post 1978, the last time they actually, 77, the last time they actually got to a Super Bowl. Here's a plan. Plan A. We just keep running it back. Bring back Kirk Cousins. Try to fill in.
I'd fire him right now. I'd fire him right now for coming at me like that. Hey, here's the plan.
Here's 2 options. You're going to get fired for having 2
running
options.
It back.
Yeah.
No, you come in with
I'm
one
not
plan.
saying that that's what he would say. I'm having a conversation with you.
You're saying it to me, but I'm coming in with one plan. Only one. Because
if that plan fails, they're definitely getting fired. Yeah, or you bring in 2 plans.
That's how he got hired, though. He didn't come in with multiple plans. He came with one plan. That's how he got hired. Having multiple plans gets you also fired. No. You got one plan.
Yeah, one plan and it's gone for 2 years, and what have you done? 1 first-round exit and playoffs.
I know. 13 wins in the second year, injuries galore.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
That's definitely
lifetime contracts for getting to the playoffs.
Damn it, GM. Why did you cause all your players to get hurt? No, man. You
really think any owner is going to listen to those excuses? Anyway, we're going to wrap here, ladies and gentlemen. I was going to wrap 25 minutes ago. And of course, when me and Dave get going, particularly on Cousins or future stuff.
Throw a zinger in there. What excuses? What are the excuses next 2 years when you said we're having 2 losing seasons? What are the excuses? Oh, I got a quarterback.
Don't need excuses. If I go into it saying I won't need them. I won't need them, Dave.
Hey, I got the get out of jail free card.
If I convince my bosses to go with a different plan than what they've gone with, and I explicitly say the likelihood is these next season or 2 are not going to be all that great, but there is a long-term plan of winning a championship and they sign off on it, I don't need excuses for having bad years because I told them that going into it.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to lose. That plan I came in when you hired me, not doing it anymore. That was a bad plan. I got a new plan. And we're going to lose the next 2 years in the process.
You want me to go with?
I don't get
only gets us so far. Do you want to go farther?
This is a lot of what you want, and rather than what you think will happen. This is a lot of what you want.
We stated that about 45 minutes ago. Anyway, real quick,
and again, because it's true.
Real quick, what's up, Freddie? I know I ain't shouted out you yet. Vikings fan 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I didn't quite get you because sometimes I try to throw the quick ones in there. But hey, as long as you get here, it's all good. It's
a question.
Say what?
He had a question, a legitimate one. What do you think's a fair contract for Cousins?
Yeah, okay. This is going to be our last one for the night. How much is Cousins worth? What is a fair contract? That's 2 different questions, and I don't.
What he's worth is probably in top 5.
What he's worth is whatever he can get on the open market. Yeah,
probably reduced because of his injury. So there's that fact. So I think incentive laden would be probably more appropriate. I want probably 30 with incentives, but he's probably going to get 35 with incentives offered to him. Whether or not he accepts it, different story. Whether or not the Vikings think it's in their best interest, different story.
I'll answer it this way, Freddie. His market value prior to his injury, and we said this earlier, so you maybe
45 50.
45 to 50 is what his market value would have been before the injury. Post injury, I think you take 5 off of that. So I think post injury, his market value is 40 to 45. I base that on.
You could almost take 10 off. It's a bad. I mean, it's still
not
really
with how bad the backup quarterback. Look at all these backup quarterbacks.
It depends. It depends on. I mean, it really depends on how late he goes into the free agency period.
So
if he tries to sign early,
yeah,
with no proof of him being okay, because he'll go in for workouts. They're already doing videos of him walking, getting ready for the free agency period and his workouts. From what I heard,
I'll finish by saying this, Freddie. I say with his injury, his market value is around 40 to 45, and I say for 2 reasons: the backup quarterback play around the NFL has been garbage. And even coming off an injury, I would say that Kirk Cousins' market value would not be any lower than 40 because that's what Daniel Jones got. So that's where I'm basing his minimum floor market value is 40. Now, if the Vikings gave him a $40 million, let's say 2 years, 80 million, 40 and 40, his cap numbers would be 50 and 50 because of those void years. We talked about that a little bit earlier, Freddie. I don't know if you heard it, but I am not giving Kirk Cousins 2 years, 80 million and having salary cap hits of 50 and 50. I don't want Kirk Cousins back, period. I'd rather just rip the Band-Aid off, go in a different direction, and start the process that I would have started. I would have traded Kirk the day that they fired Zimmer and Spielman, but that's a whole nother conversation we're not going to get into because
it wasn't his question.
Exactly. So anyway, what would I be comfortable with? I'd be comfortable. There was a Pro Football Focus report that, the Vikings would offer Kirk 2 years, 60 million. Which would be 30 and 30 in new money and then 40 and 40 in salary cap hits. That's still a touch higher than I would like to go.
So but you think you don't think that second year was because they didn't say two years of fully guaranteed?
I don't care. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is this: whether it was fully guaranteed or partially guaranteed, even if it's fully guaranteed, that's
37.50 was guaranteed.
Either way, what I'm saying is that's too much for me. And what would be enough of a drop for me would probably be 2 years, 50 million at 35 a year as far as salary cap hits. But Kirk's not taking 2 years. He's not taking 2 years, 60 million. I don't think. So he's certainly not taking 2 years, 50 million. I don't think he's taking anything less than 40 million a year. And I don't think he's taking anything less than 2 years. That's just my opinion based on Kirk Cousins' history, his negotiations. And I'm sorry, Dave, I disagree with you. Well, he's going to want to stay here because he thinks he can win because he's been here for this. Again, have you seen the rest of the team? To your point, all of these turnovers.
2 book and tackles. We actually now have a pretty decent running back, I think.
You know
we
what?
have probably one of the best receiving cores in the league. Our tight end probably back in October.
And that's a great scenario to drop a rookie quarterback into that doesn't cost 40 to 50 million against
I thought we were talking about Cousins wanting to come back and play for this.
Yeah, I'm answering his question. I'm saying that for me, what's a fair contract?
Oh, I thought you were asking me. Sorry.
No. You were just saying, hey, if Kirk would, I don't think Kirk's willing to take a discount. I don't.
Wait.
And any arguments that could be made as to why Kirk would take a friendly deal, you can make that same argument that would be a good spot to drop a rookie into. It was the only point I was making. So having said that, Freddie, at the end of the day, I don't think that there's a number low enough that is team friendly enough that the Vikings would want to bring him back in and feel comfortable with that Kirk would accept. And I think that there's a very strong possibility that Kirk is going to hold firm to what his demands are based on what other market factors there are, based on the fact that the Vikings got a $28.5 million dead hit staring him in the face. What I'm most scared about, not so scared, but what would drive me the most crazy is if they give in to Kirk and they give him a 2-year, $95 million extension because they feel, oh, well, we got to bring Kirk back. And it's like, if you do that, you're severely crippling your ability to actually build up a team that can do much more than 7 to 10 wins. But that's just me.
At some point, though, you have to acknowledge the signs. And one of those is how they talked about him.
Again, I'm talking about
how Justin Jefferson recently talked about him. and how they literally in the Packer game put him on a pedestal, had him, an active player. I don't know if we've ever had an active player do the Matterhorn thing. I don't see a team moving on from a QB going, hey, why don't you get up on that Matterhorn thing? You don't think there's talk? So, I don't know. You keep doing this every time I'm talking.
I'll give you the bit afterwards.
That's guarantee. I mean, the signs don't say we're not interested in doing Kirk at any level, right? It's the signs aren't there. The signs are there of how they're wanting him back. They were talking about, hey, it gave me a glimmer of put a smile on my face that Kirk's talking about getting back by OTAs. He's not under contract, and we got our GM talking about how it picked me up that Kirk Cousins talking about coming back by OTAs. And you got Justin Jefferson. I don't. He should say that. No, I mean, he doesn't have to say that. Not everybody can play quarterback. No offense to Mullins. He doesn't have to say that. And then the team puts him out on Sunday Night Football. Everybody's watching, and they have Kirk Cousins doing the Matterhorn and leading the skull chant. Doesn't look like we're moving on from Kirk. It doesn't.
If you want to read into it, that's fine. I mean, it's a possibility.
But if you want to make up an imaginary, like that didn't happen, and say, hey, I don't see us re-signing Kirk. Am I reading too much into their actual words and actions?
A little. I wouldn't say that you're wrong. I would say that you're reading into it like it's one level below.
I am literally listening to what they're saying and repeating it and showing you exactly what they did. I don't know if I'm reading that. I'm far off of reading the direction they want to go. Now, sure, I could be wrong, but I don't see a team putting a guy out there like that. And I don't see him putting a guy out like that, or a Justin Jefferson talking like that, or a KOC talking like, or a Kwesi talking like that. If they all then in behind the scenes talking about, hey, this is our future, you're part of it. I don't see that. We want you to be part of it. There's a difference between we will and we want. I'm going to the aspect. I'm ready to move on with a rookie quarterback at any point. I just don't see it happening, like without the attempt of trying to bring back Kirk, because that's what I think they're going. But I know that pisses people off, and I know I already got one guy saying he's going to do a curb stomp of Kirk apparently on Friday, right? Because I talked about it.
Can't imagine who that could be.
Yeah. So I don't know why that brings so much, I don't know, angst out in people when you talk about what it looks like. I know there's a difference between what you want. I want to draft a quarterback this year and have him be the best fucking quarterback in the world for the next 15 years, and we win 7 Super Bowls. That's what I want. But I'd be crazy thinking that. That's what I want. But hey, I'm just telling you what I think the direction they're going.
I believe that's
you made a lot of points throughout the year about being a realist. I'm literally being a realist by saying that looks like the direction they're going based on what they've said and what they've done.
I'm not arguing that point, Dave. The first thing I said in here was, this is what I would do, but I'm pretty sure that's not what the Wills
and I do. Is that what you want or what you do? And you were
again, it's what I want and what I would do. It's what I want, but I doubt that is what I just got done saying. I think that there's a good possibility that they would just acquiesce and give Kirk whatever he wants, because that's the history of how they are. They want stability.
Hour and 8 minutes later, you say that. That's all my point is. That seems to be the way they're going.
And that's what I said an hour ago. You must not have heard me say it. But anyway, I digress. No, again, I've said it a million times. This is all about the Wilfs wanting stability. And I have maintained that stability is a great, in theory, idea. But when that stability leads you to perpetual mediocrity, and I'm sorry, you have a different definition of mediocre than I do. My definition of mediocre is if you're a team that's always just in the hunt the last week or two of the season and occasionally wins a division and occasionally wins a wild card round game, which is all we've done in the last 6 years, is win one wild card game and lose another. Yes, that fits mediocrity to me. In 6 years, playoff miss.
Why only 6 years?
The 6 years of Kirk Cousins.
But
it's beyond that.
What's our history been? You think it's only Kirk that's done this?
I didn't say that. I'm talking. We've been talking about Kirk, so of course I'm going to reference the 6 years he's been here. I've also referenced this stat a million times.
I'm only talking about 2 years because we have a new GM, we got a new head coach.
Yeah, in this time last year, you were saying, yeah, I'm talking about a 2-year plan, and now it's a new 2-year plan. But anyway,
no, I said the cap space is the best situation is 2025 for a rookie quarterback. I haven't changed.
I'm not just putting this on Kirk. I put it on the Wills, and I've said that a million times. This is their 19th season. They've had 4 seasons of 6 wins or fewer, 4 seasons of 11 wins or more, and they now have 11 seasons of 7 to 10 wins. That's the definition of mediocre.
How many wins do you think we would have had if Kirk stayed healthy?
Probably 10, maybe 11. They were 4-4 without him. They probably still beat Atlanta and New Orleans, so that gets them to 6-4. I would say between Chicago and Denver, they win at least one more, so that gets them to 7. They probably still beat the Raiders, so that gets them to 8. They might beat Cincinnati. I'd say between Cincinnati and Detroit, they probably, and Green Bay, they win 1, maybe 2 of those.
And just
so again, around 10.
And you think the Lions, the Cowboys, and the Eagles would be heads or tails above us?
Yes.
In the playoffs.
Maybe not the Lions, because the Lions defensively.
Eagles been playing bad.
We'd have to go to Philly. With Kirk Cousins, with Justin I'll even add this. With Kirk Cousins healthy the whole season, with Justin Jefferson healthy the whole season, and with the defense doing the up and down routine that they did. Mm-hmm. If we had to go to Philadelphia, I would say that we would be behind the 8 ball. And for dang sure against San Francisco.
Well, we went to Philly this year earlier.
Yeah, and lost.
Yeah. 4 turnovers.
That's part of the game. I love how you say we're a good team except for the turnovers. Good teams don't have that many turnovers.
Yeah, and
that's a whole nother argument.
I don't get into. So you bring up that automatically if 4 turnovers you're a bad team, right? There's other teams that have won or that are in the playoffs. You can't
call yourself a good team if you turn the ball over 4 times.
Then I guess there's some teams that's done that this year. They're bad, all bad teams then, right? If you've done that.
How many playoff teams have had? What's the number of turnovers that all of the teams have had, and which one of them are in the playoffs? Are there playoffs
because of one game of 4 turnovers? Come on, Justin. We've
had 36 turnovers in 16 games.
We won 5 in a row, and 2 of them were with a guy we picked up off the street. And you still think this is a bad? This would have been a you're even saying 11-5 team, and you're saying that we wouldn't have competed against. Like we definitely would have lost against the Cowboys. The way they're playing now, the Cowboys, the Lions, and the Eagles, the way they're playing now, you think we would not even have a shot against them?
I didn't say that. I said not the Lions. I said yes. If we had to go to Dallas, I don't think we'd win with Kirk healthy and Justin Jefferson healthy.
Do good teams lose the Cardinals and Josh Dobbs?
They lost 1 game to a bad team.
I thought one
just
game
like Seattle. Who lost to the Cardinals last week? Was it Seattle? No, it was Philly.
1 game defines you. I'm talking with Josh Dobbs.
36 turnovers in 16 games is not 1 game defining you. That's more than 2 turnovers a game on average.
Yeah,
that's
you're talking
not
about
1 game.
You're talking about what's happened after Kirk, right?
The entire season, the Vikings have turned the ball over on offense 36 times.
Yeah, how many turnovers in the last 3 games Kirk played? We turned it around, man. We were turning it around.
All right, you just got done talking about 1 game losing to the Cardinals in a 3-game sample of, we were turning the ball over less. And therefore, because of those 3 games, we're just going to assume that the rest of the season would have played out that way. Okay. All I'm saying is
you just said it had been 11-5.
I swear I said
6, 10. I guess 11
I thought I said 10, but all I'm saying is this,
maybe 11. You said
we're gonna wrap here. It doesn't matter what we would have been with or without Kirk Cousins because we don't have him.
Well, your point is that we're bad. And we have all these holes, and
I didn't say
we got to get rid of. You said we've got holes, a lot of holes.
Anybody who watches this team knows the Vikings have a lot of holes in it. This team has a lot of roster deficiencies. That's no secrets. That's not me. That's fact.
A potential 11-5 team is so destitute.
We went 13-4 last year. We had lots of holes on our roster, and we pulled a rabbit out of our hat a lot of times.
But not, is all because our defense was so good.
I'm sorry, what?
All because our defense was so good.
Talking about last year?
Yeah. We were 13-4 because of our defense, right?
Yeah, I did not say that at all. I don't
know. No, it was a lot to do with how fucking good Kirk Cousins played, and our Justin Jefferson, and freaking 4 good games of Dalvin Cook. It's like, I don't know, man. I
mean, if you
look back in the season and think, oh yeah, because we're ended up 7 means, yeah, we're a 7-win team. We're a mediocre. We wouldn't have been any better than mediocre. And knowing that for a fact, it's just.
I'm not saying I know it for a fact. I know for a fact that we're going to be a 7 or an 8-win team at the end of the year. How we got there, all injuries, turnovers, turnovers are within your control. It's one thing if over 16 games you turn the ball over 16 times.
Were we or were we not stopping the turnover issue?
That does not guarantee that we would have continued to turn.
No, it doesn't. But it doesn't mean they were guaranteed to be 7 or 8 wins.
I didn't say that. You asked me what we'd be with Kirk. I said 10 and 7.
You bring up the full year of turnovers.
I said 10
you literally bring the full year of turnovers up. But then you say, I'm not saying that.
I said that's what the reality of the situation is.
It is
I'll
the
say
reality.
This. You probably wouldn't have had 36 turnovers if Kirk Cousins had played all year. You probably would not have.
Probably
and as
not,
I said,
because we lead the
probably
league
be
in
a 10-win
turnovers caused by the quarterback right now.
Sorry?
We lead the league in turnovers caused by the quarterback right now. And by cause, mean every interception is their fault.
No, Kirk never threw any interceptions either. No. Kirk didn't throw that pick 6 in Carolina. He didn't do that. That was somebody else. Anyway, I digress.
So the other 4 were his fault?
It's not about parceling fault. It's about the okay, we got to.
You just brought it up. He didn't do that. No, yeah, he had 5 turnovers, and we led the league, or 5 interceptions. We led the league in quarterback turnovers, and we had the 2 guys that replaced him. Have been the most turnover-prone quarterbacks in the NFL in their career. So there's a difference. We were on the right track, and we were 6-4 even without him, and we could have. I don't know.
I don't know either.
We
were 4-4 with him. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so kindly for joining us.
Welcome to 3 more years of losing. Congratulations, guys.
Welcome
Let's go.
to 2 more years of mediocrity. In all seriousness,
3 years of losing, and Justin Jefferson, Darisaw, and the whole gang will be back.
There we go. Thank you so much for joining us,
You're
everybody.
27.
Hit those like buttons on the way out. Hit the subscribe buttons if you feel like it. Thank you kindly for joining us. Skull to the next episode.
That's cool.
Dave, we'll see you tomorrow night on his channel with the GG Boys for the Skull Experience at 6:30 Central Time. I'll be back on around 8:15 on Thursday for Skull for Days. Thursday's Talkers getting you ready for the Vikings' final regular season game. Or final one altogether.